Today, I'm going to be talking about how my songwriting process works and everything I have to do to take a song from conception to production. So you may have seen my video, Neuropathy Man. I'm just going to play a few short clips.
You can't feel your feet, and when you've had too much to drink, that's when you put me down, down, down.
The first thing I do when I'm writing a song is I obviously have a concept. And when I was first devising this album, it started a year ago, I kind of just thought of a bunch of random things that were unique. It was a breakup album, so these were mostly about my ex-boyfriend, and I just wanted to think of things that were unique and a different perspective than you see a lot of songwriters write about breakups and stuff. And I was like, you know what's interesting? For some reason, I just got stuck on this idea of a song called Numb Toes about neuropathy, because again, I'm just drawing parallels between my experience being in a relationship with someone who is emotionally unavailable and emotionally detached, and someone who doesn't like to talk about their feelings or anything like that. So it's a numbness. There's a repression. And in the same way, this person happened to have peripheral neuropathy, which is a terrible, terrible condition, but it started really young for him. It started in his early 30s. So I thought that was kind of strange. Like when I met him, I'm like, how is it that you already don't feel your feet in your 30s, which I thought was maybe a red flag of types, because I kept looking up the causes, and usually it's type 2 diabetes. And he did drink a lot of soda, so I was like, okay, possible. And then I even read on Reddit, like I dug deep, there's even binge drinking can cause peripheral neuropathy. So there's young people who said they had like a really big night of drinking, and then they had less feeling the next day in their feet. So I'm sitting here at my piano. So usually when I'm writing a song, sometimes I'll come up with a lyric, and sometimes I just kind of come up with a melody, and sometimes I just literally play around with chords until I come up with something. And so I'll usually record those in a voice memo. And here I have my original voice memos from that time. Let me find my track. Okay, so I basically just hit record and I came up with this. Anyway, it goes on for a while. This is just me experimenting with chords and melodies. Okay, so I just randomly play literal random chord progressions. I usually am in like a correct key at this point, because again, I do have a music training. But I'm going through, I'm playing, and I'm singing random melodies over these to see if anything calls to me. Okay, then somehow in all this, I come up with this thing, and it like happens right here. I don't know, and I usually have a Google Doc out, and I start writing lyrics when I think of them. If I like them, I'll pause and I'll do it. So as you can see, this part that I could then come up with after a minute and 22 of just messing around on the piano literally stayed in the song. Okay, then here's the part. This part.
I like the idea of...
So anyway, there you hear me pausing and writing. So that initial part ended up in the song. It's in this section. I like to have a humorous bridge just because at the end of the day, I'm kind of I don't know, I like being funny, and I think there's a good thing to have humor and everything. I don't think we should be too serious about anything. And I think it's kind of nice to sing about like serious topics, but in a funny way. Because why do we have to be so like dramatic all the time? I mean, I'm dramatic in like a funny way, but it ended up like this.
You could step on a thorn and not even know it. Get poked by a needle, get bit by a beagle. Oops, you crushed his tail or lost a toenail without ever knowing. No pain is showing. Step on broken glass.
Okay, so that's how it ended up, and then from where it started. And so somehow, from this little part of my voice memo,
Oh, it get poked by a grass, your progression needle, prior to feel your tongue. Neuropathy man.
here's how I came up with the chorus.
Your toes.
That did not stick. But here I'm about to come up with the hook, the chorus.
Oh, how to put me down. Oh,
Yeah, it's a pretty nice melody. I'll probably use it in a different song.
neuropathy man.
Here's the chorus. It's developing.
I don't understand
I'm close.
how you lost the feeling in your toes and heart.
That was not very good. As you can see, I changed it later.
Neuropathy man. I would have won it anywhere if the world to see. Oh, oh.
Okay, so then that voice memo ends. So then in between this voice memo and the next one, I like figured out that whole neuropathy man part, and then I even came up with the verse. And so that is literally how I come up with the songs. So the next voice memo I made, and again, this is like March 7th, March 3rd, something like that. Change the chord progression. I changed the chord progression a little there. I changed the down to down, down, down. We're still in B minor.
Can't feel your feet, and you.
So I'm pausing, I'm writing lyrics as I'm going. It just kind of comes into my mind, and then I either like it or I don't.
Probably had too much to eat me the heart. Yes. Apathy man, I don't understand how you mind.
See, then I came up with it. That was it. So anyway, as you can see, that part's already coming together so much more than my original playing around the piano. And okay, let's see. I want to show you guys how I write it all up. So once I have my chord progression, which again I figured from doing just messing around, like literally just trying things and singing melodies and either being like, oh, that's good or that's bad, and then writing notes as I go. So then once I get the chord progression, I write it here in chord symbols. So this is like B minor, and then E major, and then G, and then A, and that's how I came with the you can't feel your feet, and when you've had too much to drink. Then the second part is a slightly different chord progression. Let me down to F sharp. See that? So that is the same thing for the verse. And then again, as you saw from the voice memo, I realized that the chorus part had a slightly different thing, which was the neuropathy man. I don't understand how a man so dumb could call me dumb while walking on needles and pins. I remember when I came up with that, and it was like brilliant. I was like, oh my god, if I change it to, it's usually pins and needles, I changed it to needles and pins. And then I thought it was cool how numb rhymes with dumb. And then the stand of neuropathy man, I don't understand. I have it bolded there because because I'm literally saying that's the rhyme word. How a man so numb could call me dumb while walking on needles and pins. I was like, oh, that flows so nice. And then I really liked this hook, this second part of the song. Neuropathy man, just admit defeat, play on repeat, and dance on your little numb toes. Oh, numb toes, you got cold feet, I suppose. And then that goes back to the fact that I kind of first came up with, because I had come up with the idea of like, you can't feel your feet, and when you've had too much to drink, right? But then, as you saw in that first voice recording, this was the whole bridge part I came up, and I just thought it was like clever. Again, I'm not trying to really like make fun of people in neuropathy because it's sad and we all have different health problems. Like I have tons, trust me, and maybe I'll make fun of mine in another song. But it is really interesting that one of the things they have to do is to check their feet all the time because they don't feel anything. So if they step on something, they can get an infection. So you actually have to check your feet all the time. So I used to have to check his feet, or he would get worried like he stepped on something, or he'd even be like, I'm going to close my eyes and I want you to like poke my feet with something sharp to see if I feel it, okay? So it's not like normally how you'd want to spend your 30s, you know, but hey, I was a really good girlfriend. So then I was like, oh my God, this is so funny, and it could rhyme. You could step on a thorn and not even know it, get poked by a needle, get bit by a beagle, oops, you crushed a snail and lost a toenail without ever knowing your pain is showing. And this is the same chord progression as Neuropathy Man. Neuropathy Man, I don't understand how, almost exactly, okay? Slightly different. And then skip leg day, call May Day, like French, you know. Take your dumb feet to their woman's passenger seat. Because he likes to be passenger princess. So I thought that was nice. Okay, so then what? So I then will record through, after I have this all written out in paper, Google Docs, I then will record a full voice memo of me playing it, just piano and voice. You can't feel your feet, like that. So I usually send it to my like core team, which is just my brother, my sister-in-law, and my friend. And I go, what do you think of this? And they go, oh, it's actually pretty good. And I usually don't even send my song to someone unless I think it has potential. Because I have other songs I write on those voice memos all the time, and they just don't really manifest, or I don't think they're good enough, or they just don't speak to me. I was like, okay, this is a song. It's thematic. It has a title. You have the numb toes thing. I love that the cold feet, I suppose, is double meaning. You got cold feet about the relationship. You have cold feet. You know, it's supposed to be like that. Okay, so it's all symbolism about stomping me down, 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 push me down, 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 press the joystick down, down, down. It's all this guzzle it down, down, down. I basically found all these things about down, down, down that you can put together, multiple meanings, like to put someone down, to drink soda down, like kind of in a gluttonous way. And then in the second verse, press the D-pad down physically. Take your heavy foot and stomp me down, down, down. I mean, like, that's very similar to put me down and down. It's just kind of like feeling like someone's kind of insulting you and like not basically saying, insulting your intelligence, etc., etc. Just showing a lack of respect generally. So then what? So that's the easy part. I'm like, okay, now I have a song. And if I didn't care about any production at all, I could just record a voice memo. Some indie singers do that. They just record a voice memo and they upload it. They don't put effects on it. They just put it to SoundCloud. That's it. But I'm like, oh, I'm going to learn how to use Logic Pro, okay? So then I go through and I do this like whole elaborate thing. And in Logic Pro, so basically the way this works is like every track here is a different instrument. And then these green ones are MIDI instruments, so basically electronic, right? So here's a piano. Now, you know, and then I put in a beat here. Okay, so you can kind of, I'm isolating these right now so you can see all the different parts. Now this version of the song was scrapped. Okay, this version of the song, the person I sent it to, who's like really good at music production, was like, I don't think it matches the nature of the song at all. Because I sent him the piano version, and then see, that's just what the piano sounds like. It's simple, right? But then this is what it turned. I just want you guys to hear how bad this is and why it didn't end up making the cut.
When you put me down, 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 you can't feel your toes from the years of soda, I suppose. Drink the sugar and guzzle it down, down, down. Neuropathy man, I don't understand how a band so dumb could call me dumb while walking on needles and pins. Neuropathy man, just admit defeat, play on repeat and dance on your little numb toes. Oh, numb toes, you got cold feet, I suppose.
And I was like, okay, it's fine, but I was just wrong. I was like, I think it needs to be more acoustic. So then I made a second version called Neuropathy Man Acoustic. And then that one sounded like this. And I added a bunch of harmonies.
Drink the sugar and guzzle it down, down, down.
So now on this one, I added in cello and viola. At one point, I had these like pizzicato strings and I took them out.
And when you've had too much to drink.
Anyway, I liked it, but then I still was like, something's wrong, and that weird radio effect I just showed, as you can see, I think it was a little too much.
You can't feel your toes from the years of soda ice.
But I like this kind of old-fashioned sounding, so I was like, okay, I'm on the right track. But then I just felt that 80 beats per minute, see this up here, it says 80 beats per minute, 4/4 B minor. 80 beats per minute, I was like, that's too fast, because suddenly I felt it should be folkier. And then I got the idea that it should be slower, so I called this one Neuropathy Man Acoustic Slower. I lowered the BPM, beats per minute, to 76, I believe. It's showing up right now. Yes, I lowered it to 76, and then when this one was coming together, one of the main distinctions was that I added in a guitar. Let me find it. This line. So the guitar. So again, because I lowered it to 76 beats per minute, it just had like a more folky aesthetic, and I was like, okay, like I like that. I think it fits better than the electronic one for sure. Though a house remix is not out of the question, just so you know. Okay, so then that was that. I still had the orchestra section I just showed you, but I took out the pizzicato strings. I kept just the viola and the cellos. So I had these. Good. Okay, let's add in the acoustic guitar. And then I, of course, have my piano. And there's multiple piano lines in this for some reason. And then I have, during the bridge, I liked this idea of having a harpsichord, which is like an old-fashioned, before pianos were invented, they had harpsichords. To me, it sounds, obviously, like, it always reminds me of just more Baroque music, but also like video game music. You know how in early Nintendo and Super Nintendo era, we have more of that kind of MIDI sounding music. I just like it because I'm into retro gaming and stuff, and I just thought it was like a cool, like I'm in like a fairy tale adventure. Makes the bridge sound different, which I think is important because the bridge does stand out in this song. It's kind of the pinnacle moment where I really just let everything out. That's kind of my same format I use in Mannequin, where like the first two verses don't have much text, and then in my bridge I just kind of go on this whole Lin-Manuel Miranda showdown basically. And so in this one I kind of do that too, where it's like it's not as much as Mannequin, but in the bridge I'm basically like, let's just go and be kind of literal and funny and not take it too serious, because in the first part I'm like pretty sad, you know, you can't feel your toes, I can't feel your feet, and when you've had too much to drink, that's when you put me down. That's like really it's hard. And sometimes when you think about that and that the things you've lived through, and if you didn't like stand up for yourself, you feel kind of bad about yourself a little bit, so you're like, oh, it's like hard, but you have to relive that to create the art. So I don't mind, like it's part of the process. Being an artist is living in those emotions, because the best music and art comes out of taking those emotions and turning it into something, versus people who repress and then often turn to substances like alcohol or drugs, or there's even non-substance addiction things or distractions. Video games can be a distraction. People who are just like, they just don't want to deal with anything. They push out the emotion, and I'm doing the opposite. I'm like, I'm going to feel this emotion. I'm going to think about all, there's a clap back, but I'm going to think about all the things that I did wrong and that I didn't address and that I should have addressed and that I didn't stand up so I can learn for the next relationship, right? So that's what I want to talk about. But then when it comes down to it, I'm like, okay, I just did like two very serious verses, so I'm going to be silly and talk about needles and beagles and a lot of things that could happen if you can't feel your feet, okay? Which, you know, make a little light heart out of a sad thing. Okay, so then I have this song. It's kind of like this at this point. I'm like, all right, sounding pretty good. I'm happy. Obviously, I have the vocals. These are my vocals. Let me add them in. I have the leads and the harmony. I think I just did the harmony too. I'm not even sure.
You can't feel your toes from the years of soda, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the 3-part harmony. But then I was standing there one morning. I was like by my washing machine, and I don't know how this even came up. And I was thinking about beats. I was kind of like, and I couldn't find the beat. And I was like, hey, it's folky, and I can never find, I'm not very good at beats. So like when I go into the drum sets on these programs and I look through loops, I'm never happy with any of the drums. And the really good sound producer people, they actually just always make their own beats. And that's why their songs are good. So I need to still learn how to do that. But I was like, oh, what is cool? What is this song? I don't know. And all of a sudden it just came to my mind. I was like, oh my God, tap dancing. Of course, tap dancing. Tap dancing. And I own tap shoes. I literally pulled out my own tap shoes. They're over there. And I literally like went onto my hard floor and I started doing little tap things because I know a few tap dance stuff because I was in musical theater a lot. And so I did 42nd Street. I had to do all these time steps. So I know the time steps. Not great at it, but I can do it. And I was like, this could be a tap beat. And then it fits thematically with numb toes, the feet, the everything. Dance on your little numb toes. Tap dance. Duh. And so then I'm like, okay, I need to download tap sounds from the internet. So I basically found tap sounds. Then I had to import them into audio files. And then I had to use this software to change the beat to fit my 76 beats per minute. And I actually have these 4 lines here. You see this verse tap loop, bridge tap, neuropathy chorus tap, numb toes loop. Oh, look, I labeled things. I'm proud of myself. This verse, I came up with this. Look how good this is. I then find all these different loops. So for example,
And when you've had too much to drink, that's when
we have 4 different beats for each of the 4 parts of the song.
neuropathy, man. I don't understand how
That one was slowed down, so it sounds kind of weird.
toes, oh, numb toes.
Yep, and then I got a really complicated one for the bridge because I thought it was like the culmination of everything.
You could step on a thorn and not even know it. Get poked by a needle.
Okay, so then all that went into that, etc., etc. Now, when I'm not that good at Logic, I just started using this about a year ago now. I'm learning every day, and that's why my recordings don't sound super professional, but I do the best I can. So essentially, once you get all the parts that you want, you have kind of the basics, and then you have to go through, and on every single line, you have to add in different, see these plugins? These are different plugins that change the quality. In this case, it's like the guitar, reverb, there's EQ, there's compression, and so these are all things I'm not an expert in, and so I just kind of experiment, and it just takes a lot of time. I also physically, individually, and I try to do copy paste as much as I can, but each of these are literally notes. So I put in every single note I kind of sometimes use a loop to get the initial sound or the instrument type, and I go, okay, and then I change the loop to fit my chord progression. So same with the piano. Now with the piano, I actually played it into the computer with a cable from my keyboard. But then sometimes if you make a mistake, you have to drag the note to the right place. See how there's like a piano here? That is the note that's corresponding. So basically all the green parts were either played into my piano or I manually basically dragged and dropped and drew them onto the line. And then for the cello part, this was a loop, but I had to modulate the loop because this was a different chord progression than mine. So anyway, that's complicated. So basically for each one, I basically click here, I kind of click on each little segment, and then over here, there's like a thing right here where you can transpose it right here. So it's a really arduous process, and that's one of the reasons why my release schedule has slowed down a lot since my initial releases, just because it's so time consuming. And I'm sure there's AI and all sorts of other tools I could use to speed it up. But at the end of the day, I'm working a bunch of jobs. I'm busy with my personal life, and I'm just trying to do this music in between everything as much as I can and just try to get songs out while I still can, you know? Like, I feel we're all aging and you're only going to get older, right? So it's like I might as well just try to get as much done while I still feel youthful and energetic. So yeah, that's just that. So that's my whole process. Oh, I haven't even talked about the music video yet. So then let's talk about the music video. So this music video, I was in New York City, and so it happens to be that this place had a billboard with a shoe on the background. I'm like, how apropos is that? I talk about stomping down, right? And it was a beautiful day. It was not cold. Okay, so then for the tap dance scenes, I filmed them on a piano bench. And that's me tap dancing. That's literally me tap dancing. So I set the camera up in such a way against a window with a curtain, and then I tapped, and I was on a piano bench, so I was a little nervous about safety, so I actually went slower, and then I sped up the clip to match my pace. So the guitar I'm fake playing in the video because, again, it's dubbed over from the thing, but I tried to do it accurate. Like in the plucking pattern is like the bass note first, like dun, dun, dun. So I tried to do that accurately in my depiction. The piano I actually did play and sing when I did this video recording, so that was true. I was really playing and singing, so I think that's why it looks very real, because it is real. And then I put this little clip of me like putting away my phone, like not in character yet, because I just think it's funny where it's like, oh, it's time to, oh, we're doing the video now? Okay, time to do the video, put away the phone.
You can't feel your feet, and when you've got too much.
Okay, this was in Central Park, and it was so cold that day that I was like bundled up in 2 coats, a scarf, a thing, and it was windy, so my hair got all, as you can see, very, the wind did my hair, okay? So it was very cold, but I was like, oh, we could get some beautiful Central Park footage. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so cold. I just want to put my headband back on. I didn't even want to take off my gloves, you know, so I look like just a person in the park. Then I did like a leather jacket shot just because it's like, oh, it's always nice to do a leather jacket.
That's when you put me down, down, down.
Again, see how cool that background that I'm behind that shoe? It even says under my shoe. Little something, I forget what it said. Little space for you under my shoe. So apropos, and just by chance. That's at the end of the High Line, which is a walking trail that they built out of a former railroad line. Okay, then of course add in a little tap dance on the numb toes. So yeah. And then the editing, it takes a lot of time. I have to basically go into Final Cut Pro. By the way, this is a 8-bit DAW controller. They're very good.
Down, down, down.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted to like disappear into the camera like that. But yeah, I basically just did the 2 locations, Central Park and then this High Line. I did it all in just 2 takes, and then I just clip it up and then put it all together. I got some public domain clips for like the leg day and the Legos and all of that. And then I thought, okay, I'll film a shot since I have me playing guitar. Since I have a shot of me playing guitar and playing piano, I'll do like also as if I'm recording. Though if I'm actually recording, I have headphones on so that I don't hear back the music to myself. So again, trying to reflect the process. I'm just doing this at home in my own space. I didn't really have it was enough that someone helped me film in New York City for those 2 shots. I don't, necessarily, when I'm available isn't always when my friends or other family members are available to film me. So sometimes it's just me and a tripod and wherever I am. Anyway, that's how Neuropathy Man came together. So it's me actually tap dancing, but the sounds are not me tap dancing, if that makes sense. And then
You got cold feet, I suppose.
And yeah, it came out on March 28th, and it was conceptualized on that first day. I think March 3rd was the day of the voice memo. So yeah, got a song done in 1 month from start to finish on YouTube with a video and everything. I think that's pretty good. But yeah, I want to make a remix that's like, dance on your little, dance on your numb toes, something like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to hear your comments. If you have any questions about how to get started making your own music, songwriting, if you want either music composition, voice lessons, piano lessons, theory lessons, I teach that all. Or if you just want some help on some songwriting, happy to do that too. But yeah, comment if you have any questions. It's been fun, and I hope you enjoy my channel.